Hey, everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Shadow at Night for Tuesday, January the 14th, 2025. And on the show tonight, more liberal leadership hopefuls emerge from the pack. $350,000 entry fee. And yet these people are saying, what the hell? Now, apparently they can pay that back in installments if they have to borrow it from the bank. But that would allow them into the race, the less fortunate members of the Liberal Party. People like Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland, I'm sure, won't have trouble raising that kind of money. Mark Carney especially, even though all of the web pages, when you investigate, say Mark Carney is worth $5 million, you would have to think that Mark Carney is worth, so much more than that. He was on with Jon Stewart last night on The Daily Show talking about his possible run for the leadership of the Liberal Party. He didn't quite announce it last night, but he announced it last night. He's supposed to announce it officially in Edmonton on Thursday. Chrystia Freeland, we hear she's thinking about it. She may announce at some point later on this week or early next week. And we've got a couple of surprises for you. People who have jumped into the race and people who say, I'm not doing that. There's no way. Now, why am I talking about this? Because the person that wins this will be the prime minister. Last night, I told you that I'm hearing from my inside sources, there will be an election on May the 5th. Now, they're soft walking that back a little bit based upon some recent comments from certain members of the Liberal Party and possibly, and I don't know this for sure, certain members of the New Democratic Party who say, maybe we will vote non-confidence, maybe we won't, when that throne speech comes up in the House of Commons when they return on March the 24th, after this prorogation, which is still being challenged in court, by the way. And I guess we're going to find out whether or not the court is even going to hear this case sometime next week. I believe it's Thursday, according to the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom. So, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. Also, there's a recall effort going on in California to get rid of Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, the Marxist mayor of Los Angeles. So we're going to get into all of that. We've got some great video for you tonight. But I want to start with, first of all, Shadow at Night live stream, as always, is brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com, CanadaNanoSilver.com. Mike is watching tonight from New Bothwell, Manitoba. Hello, Dale, watching in Sarto, Manitoba. Where's Sarto? How come I don't know Sarto? Hello, Angela. Hello, Lena. Hello, Julie, Tammy, Linda, Barb, Deborah, Naranda. Greg is watching in Kingston on Facebook. Hello, Angela. John, Susie watching in Ontario. Suzanne's watching in Grand Prairie, Alberta. Sandra, Dan, Barb, Christine, Edna, Rhonda. That's on Facebook mostly. I'm seeing some X people and some YouTube people. Hello, everybody. And over on Rumble, we've got Jasmine Cat, Braveheart, Maryland, 1954. Jimmy James is watching there. Springer Dinger. I love Rumble for the handles alone. Hello, Stump Slayer and Roween 30 and Rico Suarez and Braveheart and Robin and Eva, all you guys. Thank you for being here tonight. Don't forget, guys, get this out there. Like and share to as many people as you possibly can, because it's important this news gets out to people. It's amazing still, and I'm not sure if you've noticed this, because we all tend to live in bubbles, right? In our own little echo chambers where people agree with us, because heaven forbid we should ever get into a verbal confrontation or altercation with anybody. Oh my God, how traumatic. So we tend to stick to each other. And it's nice to have groups like that, but we do have to go out in the real world once in a while and some discussions. And, you know, some people are actually willing to sit and listen to what you have to say. Some are not. It's amazing how many people are still stuck in that mainstream media bubble. I find it offensive. Be straight up with you. But also on our side of things, on the right side of things, there are divisions that have been forming probably since the Freedom Convoy 3 years ago now. And there's a lot of people who are taking offense to that. And there was this Spaces thing on X today that I listened to, a bunch of people who were technically speaking on the side of freedom, but arguing amongst each other about how they're being attacked. And I think that That needs to come to an end. We have to grow thicker skins. For goodness sakes, I get attacked every single day. Every single day. You get used to it after a while. And one of these days, it's like, okay, well, you know, what else have you got left? Nothing. Nothing. It's no big deal. When you get attacked from somebody inside your movement, though, it's a little bit different, right? So, like I said, there was this big Spaces on X today, and I want to discuss this further. So tomorrow night, I'm hoping to get a panel of folks together, a panel of right-leaning social media influencers together. So hopefully Right Blend will be on the show tomorrow night. Greg Wycliffe has agreed to come on, and possibly Jason Levine, maybe some others. Maybe we can get to the bottom of this oversensitive nonsense and the division, because if we're going to fight amongst ourselves, the other side, even if they lose a federal election or a school board election for that matter, they're still going to be fighting as one against us to promote their wokeness. And we need to be together so we can fight back. If we're fighting amongst ourselves, that's it. It's game over, man. So here could be a great step for the people in the southern part of Manitoba to fight together. I talked about this last week. I'm going to throw it on again tonight. Here we go. From Steinbach.ca. This is a city of about 17 or 18,000, about 35 or 40 miles southeast of the city of Winnipeg. And they say, join us at an open house. This is tomorrow night now, January 15th. They put this out on their website yesterday, as you can see, January 13th, 2025. So they say the city of Steinbach is making revisions to the official community plan and zoning bylaw and is developing an active transportation plan. Now, this is more feasible and believable from a city of that size as opposed to a town like Emerson, which is doing the same thing, but has only 700 residents, or a town like Morris, which is close by Steinbach. I'm going to say maybe a 20-minute drive. And Morris is only 2,000 people. What on earth do you need an active transportation for, an active transportation plan for in a city town of only 2,000 people? And the same with Emerson, right? Steinbach, maybe, but still, why? You've got streets, you've got lights, things move along. Rush hour is probably about 2 minutes long in the morning and in the afternoon in Steinbach. To ensure that both plans and the bylaw accurately reflect the needs of the community, we're holding an open house. This is, again, tomorrow night, to provide the public the opportunity to review the documents and to hear your valuable feedback. It's going to go on from 6 until 8 o'clock in the foyer of Steinbach City Hall. This is 225 Reimer Avenue in Steinbach. So if you want to go and find out what this is all about, and I can tell you that it is most likely all about that UN ICLEI agenda and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, just like it's been in every other city, town, and municipality across the province and across the country. And if you want to object to somebody legalizing the government's right to reach right into your property and take whatever they want, or possibly say, if you drive a gas-powered vehicle, you're not allowed to drive on this street, this avenue, and this road between 7 and 9 a.m. or 4 and 6 p.m., Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's essentially what they want to do. They also want to be able to say, hey, you want to dig a well here? I don't think so. It doesn't go with the plans of the city. What does it have to do with transportation? Well, I don't have to answer that. Seriously, they are giving themselves the power to do what they want with what is yours. And if you want to find out more about this, you live in Steinbach or the Steinbach area, you go to City Hall in Steinbach tomorrow night between 6 and 8, and I would suggest you fill the place and find out exactly what kind of agenda they're pushing, and ask questions. Ask questions. Here's something that was sent to me yesterday. I'm not sure exactly when this is from. Dan Mazur, who I put a call into today. He is the Conservative MP for Dauphin Swan River in Manitoba. He sits on the Environment and Sustainability Committee at the federal level. And this is from this snippet I'm about to play for you guys, comes from that committee. I'm not sure when. I think it's about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, where he's talking to a member of the Manitoba Wildlife Federation about Parks Canada, talking with the Ministry of the Environment, Stephen Guilbeault, and developing transportation corridors secretly. What?
Mr. Heald, this will be for you. The Liberals have introduced a national program for ecological corridors without consulting landowners or land users. The government claimed that this program was needed to connect protected areas. However, there are many valid concerns that this is a backdoor attempt to restrict land use and access. I personally have concerns with the program, especially because it's run by Parks Canada. Does your organization have any concerns with the National Program for Ecological Corridors that this committee should be aware of?
For sure. I mean, it's fitting into the same mold. We're not consulting with people that live and breathe on the ground. We are making decisions in Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver. We're not talking to. So that announcement, again, we're the oldest conservation organization in Manitoba. We were not consulted. We're not invited to the announcement. Neither were the landowners. Only the groups that support the Liberal, the federal government's direction. So we are being excluded. So we do have concerns because we know where it's going to lead to. So without having a seat at the table and being part of the discussions, of course we have concerns. So.
Do you have any reason to believe that the government's Ecological Corridor program is an attempt to restrict land use and land access?
For sure. When you turn management over to Parks Canada or Indigenous protected areas or different control mechanisms that are not elected officials, how is there any accountability? So we are being excluded. Hunters, fishers, trappers, anglers, the true conservationists on the ground are being excluded from any of these discussions.
Now, I knew that funding for ICLEI, the UN's ICLEI agenda through the Canadian Federation of Municipalities was coming from the federal government, but I had no idea that they had such hands-on involvement in this process, but it looks like they do. Ecological corridors? What the hell are they even talking about? And how come nobody knows about this? Nobody, until that clip got circulated and was sent to me. I didn't know about that. So again, I've got to call into Dan Mazur's office and hopefully we can get him on the show to discuss this either this week or next week, depending on his schedule. Speaking of Manitoba and Saskatchewan, let's throw them together. It seems like everybody else does when it comes to statistics and polling across the country. From mnpdebt.ca, out of Winnipeg, nearly half of Manitoba and Saskatchewan residents are teetering on the edge of financial insolvency heading into this year, despite declining interest rates. According to the latest MNP Consumer Debt Index, the proportion of Manitoba and Saskatchewan residents, 49%, are indicating they're $200 or less away from insolvency, increased by 4 points from the previous quarter, and nearly a third say they're already insolvent, 30%, jumping a significant 11 points. But hey, our new prime minister, I believe, is going to be Mark Carney. And he may be the prime minister for one day. He may be the prime minister for 2 weeks. He may be the prime minister for 6 months. And if he's the prime minister for 6 months, he can do a lot of damage, like bringing in maybe, I don't know, something like UBI. What's UBI, Shadow? It's Universal Basic Income. And here he is talking about it.
New jobs will be created, but old jobs will be lost. And the question is, what happens to the people in those jobs? Are they ready for the new jobs? How do you get them ready for the new jobs? And look, the lesson of previous industrial revolutions, and we are entering two industrial revolutions at the same time, the sustainable revolution and the AI revolution. The lesson of previous industrial revolutions is what happens is that you go through a long period with huge change of jobs and industries, and that workers are slow to benefit from the benefits of those new industries. Now, that doesn't have to be the case, and what happens is that eventually people get retrained. Eventually, new social safety net and welfare systems are put in place to support people, but it happens decades after the fact. The political process lags. I think we should benefit from that knowledge, that history, and do this in real time. Yeah. And it therefore has to be part and parcel of the growth strategy. So a huge element of this is necessarily going to have to be around the skills agenda, and the skills agenda in real time, and make these changes not threatening for people, but legitimately exciting for people, because they have the opportunity to develop the skills that, you know, are in the clean economy, are applying AI across a huge range of those economies, and they're growing their jobs from there. And that means, it means multiple levels of government, as you can appreciate, because the skills is not unique to any level of government. And it means being coordinated with industry. It means coordinated with other stakeholders. And I think it also means, and this is, I don't think I'll draw this out in the report, but it's a broader question. You've thought about this is, well, what does it mean for social welfare and support? Because ideally, look, what's happening, not ideally what's happening, but what is likely to happen is, you have people in their 30s or 40s, and the industry is changing.
He's talking about universal basic income during the transition between jobs. Hey, we're going to train you for a new job. We're going to pay you too. Pretty much welfare. But the only thing is, everybody gets it. I don't know how that would even be affordable. Maybe if we merge with the United States somehow and they adopt the thing as well, everybody gets paid in Bitcoin. Kevin O'Leary was down at Mar-a-Lago talking to Trump with Danielle Smith this past weekend. He was bragging about it all over TV and social media for the past couple of days. I'm the one that introduced Danielle Smith to Trump, and she's the only one that he'll talk to because of me. Kevin O'Leary, TV star, Shark Tank, Dragon's Den. However, you do have to give him credit for being a very smart and savvy investor. He is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and he does have Donald Trump's ear. He is suggesting that there is an idea floating around out there that says Canada and the United States should merge currencies. And we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. All right, so who is in for the Liberal leadership race? Well, Chrystia Freeland, according to a source, the CBC says, they won't name the source, just a source, because I'm sure this source didn't have permission to speak. So some source, and again, take it for what it's worth, says Chrystia Freeland is expected to announce her Liberal leadership bid within the week. Last night I was saying she's not going to run because her and Mark Carney are friends, and they don't want that public bloodbath in the next couple of months to elect the new leader. I think she's still not going to run. I don't believe this article. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there, but I don't think she's going to run. I think what's going to happen is that Mark Carney is going to win. He's already selected. And he's going to pick Chrystia Freeland as his deputy prime minister and his minister of finance. He's also going to have to find a way to win a seat somehow in the House of Commons. But I believe that Mark Carney is already the new Liberal leader. It's just a matter of going through the motions at this stage of the game. Government House leader Karina Gould is set to enter the Liberal leadership race. A source close to her confirmed to Global News. Gould has served as the leader of the government in the House of Commons since 2023. A source said it today, Tuesday, when asked if Gould has plans to run for leadership, that she would have more to say in the coming days. Remember, they have to have somebody picked by, what is it, March the 9th? I think that's the day they're going to announce. That's 2 months. That's a very, very short campaign. Karina Gould is a 37-year-old MP for Burlington. She served in government since 2015 when she was one of the many newly elected Liberals when the party was swept into power with a majority. And Cape Breton MP Jamie Baptiste is set to run for the federal Liberal leadership as well. I'm not sure how he came up with $350,000. I guess he's going to pay in installments, but here he is. He's got his eye on becoming the next federal Liberal leader, adding that he wants to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. In a formal statement issued yesterday afternoon on his social media page, the Sydney Victoria MP said he's putting his name forward for the 2025 leadership bid following Trudeau's announcement that he's stepping down. The Liberal Party of Canada must now decide on its next leader, a fresh set of ideas, and the path forward for our country. I have been truly honored and humbled by the outpouring of support I've received from the Indigenous leaders, friends, and citizens across the country that have urged me to consider making history again. Oh, he is Indigenous. You may not have noticed that, but there he is. He could be the first Indigenous Prime Minister in Canada. Christy Clark and Francois Philippe Champagne say They won't seek the Liberal leadership. This is what made me think that earlier this morning when this news came out, this is what made me think that, oh, it's Carney all the way. I mean, not that we didn't know this, but it's becoming obvious. Christy Clark says, my French isn't good enough. Francois Philippe Champagne, I don't know what he said. Who really cares? It doesn't matter. Maybe he said, there's too many already. Why throw another hat in the ring? I mean, can you imagine if they have like 11 or 12 candidates for 2 months? How are they going to whittle that down? They are going to have public debates after all. Did they just pick the top 6? It doesn't work like it does in the United States. There are no runoff elections. There's no special state elections where if you get enough delegate votes, you get to move on to the next round. That's not the way it works in this country, and definitely not with the Liberal Party. It's one big election. So I would imagine they'd all have to have a chance at the microphone. I think maybe they should all run. That'd be hilarious. All 150 MPs. I'm running too. Anyway, what else have we got here? Oh, we've got an Elon Musk story. CTV says the CBC is needed with Elon Musk meddling in Canadian politics. And this comes from our heritage minister. Her name is Pascale St-Onge, and here's her story.
We're in pretty good company, having started a public broadcaster. But why do all these countries put tax dollars toward national TV, radio, and digital platforms? It's simple. Private companies produce content for profit. There's nothing wrong with that, but public platforms have another goal in mind. They're not there for some shareholders, but rather to entertain, inform, and educate us. In short, to meet the public's needs. When it comes to news and stories, that means they focused on Canada, content made by us and for us. It also means that they work in the public interest and answer directly to you. No political or commercial interference. Canada has a proud tradition of public broadcasting, not only at the federal level. There are long-standing provincial broadcasters too. Fundamentally, that freedom from commercial or revenue chasing means you can live up to certain principles. They can work to live up to our aspirations. These principles still matter. They matter more in the era of global companies and content. Canada cannot get lost in the mix. The cost is also lower in Canada than what some others pay. It's worth every penny. The need for a public broadcaster is not lost across the world. But in the 21st century, what does a public broadcaster look like? That's the question.
What is she even talking about? She's talking about revenue chasing. Well, the CBC is a public broadcaster. It's publicly funded. Therefore, it doesn't need to chase revenue, but it does. There are still commercials on the CBC. They still sell ads on the CBC and on their web properties as well, much to the chagrin of the private broadcasters in Canada. And it's been to their chagrin for the past 50 years that the CBC has been doing this, eating their lunch, if you will. Not only can the CBC sell advertising on pretty much all of their platforms, except for radio, for some reason, I don't know why, but they get the government funding as well, 1.3, 1.4 billion of our dollars every single year to go on and carry Justin Trudeau's water, or whatever NDP party provincially happens to be in power or is running to be in power. They always choose the left. Provincially, it's NDP if the Liberals aren't a factor. But if the Liberals are a factor, they go to the left. Any way you slice it, they are a left-leaning public organization. They no longer represent Canada. And it's been that way for a very, very, very long time. Now, that makes me think, if she's Pascale St-Onge, the heritage minister, is talking about the CBC and standing up for the CBC, that makes me think there's going to be an election very soon, because you know that Pierre Poilievre has been talking out about the CBC and defunding the CBC for the last couple of years now. But then I saw this clip from Health Minister Mark Holland. We all love Mark Holland, don't we?
You know, we elect Parliament for 4 years. Everybody's, let's have an election. Let's have an election. Why? Like, every 4 years you get an election. Like, democracy is not going anywhere, folks. Like, there's going to be an election. But we got stuff we got to get done. And I certainly, if I was a constituent and somebody who cared about healthcare, I'd be talking to my MPs and say, like, really, you're going to cause an election in May or June instead of October because what? You think it's better? You might win more seats, right? That's your calculus, that it's better for your party to have an election now. Like, we have a set election day. Shouldn't we use the set election day? Shouldn't we use the time we're given as parliamentarians to get things done? And I can tell you, if I'm given to October, I'll get all the pharmacare deals done. I believe that. Now, Jeremy's sitting next to me. He can disagree, and that'd be totally fair, right? Because I got work to do, and I don't want to put him in an awkward position. But I really believe in this. I don't believe in it because I'm a liberal. I believe in it because I'm a Canadian, because I think it's the right damn thing to do. And so I think having that time is important. And I'm hopeful that it's there, but I'll make use of any time I'm given.
That makes me think that the Liberals, maybe not all of them, and they don't really have a leader at this point, as you know, so there's rudderless. I guess nobody knows what the hell's going on within that party, but there could be some people like Mark Holland there who doesn't seem to understand how our system of government works, and that is that the government itself serves in the confidence of Parliament. And if Parliament doesn't have any confidence in you, then the government is gone. That's the way it's been with minority governments forever in Canada. And in some cases, in other Westminster parliamentary systems like England and Australia, even with majority governments, if the Prime Minister loses the confidence of Parliament, meaning even some members of his own or her own party, they get the punt and they have an election. How can he not know that? Of course he knows that. Of course he does. But what he's doing here is trying to buy time for his government to get their World Economic Forum agenda fully in play, because he knows no matter when this election is, whether it's on May the 5th, whether it's on March the 31st, whenever it is, that they're going to go down in flames. So not only do they want to implement all of these ridiculous far left ideology policies, but they also want to make it so difficult for Pierre Poilievre to remove them. And he's going to have to go through that Senate, remember. Everybody talks about Poilievre getting into power, and that's great. But he's going to have to go through that Liberal Senate. And don't believe it when you hear, we're members of the Independent Senators Group. All of those senators in the Independent Senators Group are all lifelong Liberals, and they've all been given these patronage appointments by Justin Trudeau. And they control 90% of that appointed Senate right now. Stephen Harper is talking. He's talking about Donald Trump. He's talking about Justin Trudeau. He was on a podcast. Let me see if I can find out, because I found this to be very interesting. Here it is right here. This guy, he's got a channel on YouTube and it's got 311 followers. And yet somehow his videos and the guests he gets, like, top notch. He must be connected to somebody behind the scenes somehow. I'm not even sure where his show originates from. I can't remember the name of it even. 311 followers, and he gets 10,000, 15,000 views per show. That to me is mind-boggling. There's got to be some backdoor funding going on there. Anyway, Harper appeared on this guy's show, and here he is talking about Trudeau and
to push Trudeau out the door, and just trying to show that Trudeau won't be able to hang with the president.
There it is, the Standpoint podcast with Gabe Grossman.
Yeah, look, I have no doubt that there's clearly animosity there, and for good reason. I mean, Mr. Trudeau's conduct with Mr. Trump on numerous occasions when they were in office together was not professional, and I can understand why there's some animosity. But look, whether or not we have Mr. Trudeau as our prime minister is our choice as Canadians. We don't tell you who to elect as president of the United States. And so as much as I'm glad to see Mr. Trudeau leaving, this is not Mr. Trump's decision. It's the decision of Canadians. Ultimately, it was the decision of Mr. Trudeau's own party.
What do you think about Stephen Harper? I'm of two minds of the guy. I think he was a good prime minister, and definitely he is a conservative, but he possibly, I mean, we saw the video from that, what's her name, Nitty Nitterson the other night, Nitty Nits. Whatever, the TikToker who said that he is the head of the snake. This guy is the guy who is in charge. He is the guy in the shadows in the suit controlling the Conservative Party of Canada right now. And he's worth billions and billions of dollars, even if it looks like he's only worth a few million because of all of the people that he associates with and works for. He consults very large investment firms, my friends, and apparently these investment firms and other firms invest in modern digital technology, facial recognition, even war weapons, that kind of stuff. And we have heard that he is a member of the Committee of 300. I don't know. I wish that we had proof of all of these things instead of just speculation. And you could come right out and say it, man. Hey, you're a member of the Committee of 300. Explain yourself. But you never can, because there's no proof that the Committee of 300 even exists, that the 13 families control the world, or that Stephen Harper is part of any of it. There is no proof. There is only speculation. So if you're writing down in the comments right now, and I'm seeing a lot of comments, it's so fast I can't even keep up. You're saying, oh, no. He is definitely. You can't say that. You cannot, unless you have got absolute evidence, proof right in front of your face. You gotta come to the table with something huge. And if you can't, you can't. Here is Pierre Poilievre on a podcast from Vancouver Island talking about what he'd do when he's prime minister as far as Donald Trump and the United States and those tariffs are concerned.
Trump also said just a couple of days ago, he doesn't care what you have to say. Your response to that?
Well, it's not about him or me. It's about putting Canada first. He's made it clear he wants to put America first. I'm making it clear I want to put Canada first. And that means that we have to develop our own infrastructure to export our energy and resources to the rest of the world without going through the U.S. We have to allow more interprovincial free trade in our own country so that we can actually trade across provincial boundaries. And I would say to President Trump, I will retaliate with trade tariffs against American goods that are necessary to discourage America attacking our industries. I'd rather we work together, though.
Right.
Because if we do, we can have a bigger, stronger economy, and I will use the strength from that enhanced trade relationship to build our military, secure our borders, and help America, just like Canada, become safer, richer, and more secure.
I think it's a fascinating way to approach it. And you say it's not about you or Trump. Mm-hmm. If you are the prime minister, you do have to have that working relationship. Mm-hmm. So do you think that's a good tactic if he does make good on some of those tariffs that he's saying? That could really hurt Canadian industries, right?
Unfortunately, it will. And it will hurt Americans as well. And so I will be making the case to the Midwest refineries that take in our oil. We send $100 billion of Canadian oil.
They're cheap.
For $15 below market price. We're giving that energy to the Americans, and then they're reselling it at a huge profit. Frankly, if he cuts off his refineries and LNG plants from our resources, then there are going to be a lot of unionized American workers who are going to be out of a job, and many of them voted for President Trump. So I'm going to say to him, look, you're better off, and your workers are going to be way better off by deepening our trade relationship, not attacking your best friend in the world.
So what do you think? Is Stephen Harper pulling Poilievre's strings? Interesting. On that Nathaniel Erskine Smith podcast, I played a clip of it earlier, Mark Carney talking about UBI, if you'll recall. They also talked about the fact that that Mark Carney is a member of the board of the World Economic Forum. And Nate Erskine Smith actually pointed out, now he's a Liberal MP. He's he was a backbencher. I think now he's on cabinet, but anyway, doesn't matter. He pointed out that, well, so is John Baird, who is the co-chair of Pierre Poilievre's campaign. And this is something that not a lot of us talk about all the time. And he's right. Yeah, John Baird is, in fact, involved somehow, some way with the World Economic Forum, although we don't know if he's as extensively involved as Chrystia Freeland or Mark Carney. But this is where we say uniparty, right? Now, something else. People have been saying, Shadow, how come you won't give any time to the PPC and Max Bernier? Because, and this is just strictly arithmetic, they have no chance of winning. None. But what I've said in the past is very simple. I would like to see them get 10 to 12 seats, so they've got to be very choosy about the ridings that they pick to run in. They don't have to run in all 343 in this coming election ridings, because that would stretch them pretty thin. And I think their resources are probably pretty low, not nearly as much as the Conservatives, Liberals, or NDP. So they got to be very choosy about how they run this election, how they advertise, and so on, and the candidates they choose. They need to pick, and they can go ahead and run candidates in all 343 ridings. That's one thing. But you've got to pick 20 to 30 ridings that you think you've got a good chance, or at least a chance of winning, and put your strongest candidates in there. Like I said, I would like to see 10, 12, 15 PPC MPs get in there to hold the Conservatives accountable from the right, to keep pulling them a little bit further right, because if all their criticism is coming from the Liberals and the NDP, that's going to make the Conservatives go left, just to appease them, just to shut them up. We need people pulling them the other way, so at least they stay in the middle. And we also need people calling out their involvement, the Conservative Party's involvement with the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, and all of that stuff. So yes, guys, I would like to see some PPC. I just don't believe, after these last few elections and by-elections and whatnot, that they really have the wherewithal, the strength, or the money to get these seats. I wish they did, because like I said before, I've said this in the past, I like their policies. Out of all the parties, I like their policies the best, but they have to do something. It is sink or swim time now for the People's Party of Canada. All right. I told you about Kevin O'Leary going to Mar-a-Lago this past weekend with Danielle Smith, and Danielle Smith made the same case with Donald Trump. And she was also working the room, apparently, O'Leary said. She made the same case with Donald Trump that Pierre Poilievre was just talking about regarding the oil and gas and whatnot, the energy. But here is O'Leary, who himself is a multimillionaire, hundreds of millions of dollars, and a fellow TV star. Remember, Donald Trump was also a TV star for a time. He's a billionaire, though. Here is O'Leary talking about some of the, one specific idea that was being thrown around at Mar-a-Lago this past weekend. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Here it is.
And so we never talked about selling the country. That never happened. The sovereignty is not on the table. Everybody knows that already. We did talk about, when people have to understand something with Donald Trump, and Canadians are kind of confused with all the rhetoric going back and forth, and I understand that. When dealing with Trump, you have to be able to learn how to distinguish what's noise and what's signal. You have to distinguish the signal from the noise. The noise is, I want to buy Canada at a discount. The signal is, I think we should explore a much powerful, more dynamic, more productive economic union. How do we do that? So there's a few ideas been floating around. Number one, merge the currencies. Every single commodity that we sell in Canada, and oil and gas and everything else, is denominated in US dollars. Every Canadian, almost all of them, have American accounts. But if you asked any Canadian, ask 10 of them right now, would you like to trade your Trudeau pesos for American dollars? You'd get 110% of them saying yes.
How many times have you gone to the United States? You got to do that currency exchange, right? Let's just say you're going down for a weekend of shopping wherever it is that you live. You're going to Detroit, you're going to Niagara Falls on the other side, Buffalo for a football game. You're going to Grand Forks from Winnipeg to shop, or Minneapolis for a concert, or wherever, Seattle if you're from Vancouver. And then you take like 3,000 Canadian dollars to the bank to change it, and you come out with 1,700 American dollars, and it's like, what? Are you freaking kidding me right now? Now, that's great if you're going the other way. If you're an American coming to Canada and you're bringing 3,000 American dollars, now you got like 5,000 Canadian. All right. But I think our exchange rate right now is about 69 cents. And I can recall on one hand in my lifetime how many times our dollar has been worth more than the US dollar. You want to know how many? Once, when I was a kid, my grandpa was bragging about it. And then a couple of times in the early 2000s, I remember working in Kingston, Ontario at a radio station there, and I was talking to a couple of buddies about it. it was in 2003, where our dollar was like $1.05. And then a couple years later, when Harper first came into power, where it was about $1.05, $1.06. And then ever since then, and now 69. I also remember a time where it almost got into the 50s. It was really low. So what do you think? And here's something that you need to remember before you write down what your opinion is, and that is, if they control the money, they control you. If we start using the USD in Canada as our official currency, they control us. I mean, it's game over. You can say all you want. Well, Canada still got its sovereignty. It's still a country, technically. Currency. No, it's not. It is not a country. It's just a territory of whatever country's currency it's using. Period. So they're going to try and maybe sell it like that. I don't know. But that's what it sounds like. This may be the beginnings of that North American Union. I wonder if they're selling the same thing in Mexico. I'm sure the Mexicans would absolutely go for that because they love USD there. Shadow at Night live stream is brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com. These immune gummies. I'm not supposed to have a favorite of all the products. Technically speaking, it's like having a favorite of your children, but this is my favorite. Simplify your daily immune support with convenient and delicious Nano Silver immune gummies. Each serving contains powerful triple action Nano Silver. Elderberry, vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D3 will help supercharge your immune system, and it's safe and proven. This Nano Silver works alongside your body's own immune system to help you stay healthy and strong for everything that life throws at you. And what life is throwing right now is colds and flus, and well, it's that time of year, right? And so you want to keep your immune system supercharged. So grab yourself some of these. There is no artificial filling in any of these products either, which is something that you should definitely value and consider when purchasing any product. Remember, they're poisoning us, but not this stuff. Immune Gummy is one of the great products available at CanadaNanoSilver.com. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.com. If you don't like ordering online, there's people, I'm not going to put my name down there. All right, that's fine. Go ahead and find a retail location near you. You can find one on the retail locations tabs right here. Now, a lot of people have said to me too, hey, Shadow, do you know somebody who sells these things? Because I don't live near anybody who does. And I say, well, maybe you find somebody. If you're in the comments right now and you want to go and buy these products in person, but you don't live close to one of the retail locations, then ask somebody in the comments who might, and they can go buy them for you and send them to you via mail. Of course, reversing the charges on the post. There's over 35 retail locations all across the country to choose from. If you'd like to become a retailer of these awesome products, or if you want to just know more about the products themselves, you get a hold of Kevin and Anna through the contact tab at CanadaNanoSilver.com. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.com. This from Newsmax. Saving California is a new nonpartisan coalition, and they have announced the launch of a recall campaign against Governor Gavin Newsom, who survived a recall campaign in 2021 before being reelected to a second term in 2022. Wait a minute. Hold on just a second. That's the old story, isn't it? No, it's new, because there was another recall attempt launched against Newsom, and now there's another one. Whoa. Yeah. Okay. So, here it is. Under the reign of Governor Newsom, I thought I'd pulled up the wrong story. Living in California has become impossible for average people through years of poor policies, which have increased the costs of living, increased crime, increased drug use, homelessness, increased the cost of burden on small businesses and communities while decreasing our professional standards, education standards, the disappearance of billions of taxpayers' dollars to failed pet programs, and our public services. Randy Economy, the man behind the recall, said in a statement. His name is Economy, Randy Economy. Does that not sound exactly like the same complaints we have against the Trudeau government? Almost exactly. Economy, Randy Economy, that's my name. Don't wear it out. Also blasted Newsom for his handling of the current Los Angeles wildfire crisis, saying the response has been woefully unprepared and incompetent. Well, I think it might be a little bit more than that. Here is Joe Biden, because, you know, all of the lefties are saying it's climate change. This is what it looks like. I've seen Bernie Sanders posting on social media about that ad nauseum for the past few days now. And they always talk about it, these Marxists. Actually, I heard them referred to today as fascists. The World Economic Forum, all of those guys, and the way they conduct themselves and the way they impose their policies on us as fascists. Anyway, you see Bernie Sanders and his like saying it's climate change, and they never put out any science or rationale behind it. They're just hype, rhetoric. It's climate change. It's climate change. And look at Joe Biden today talking about the climate economy and the Green New Deal.
Clean energy transition will race ahead in the years to come. I know some in the incoming administration are skeptical about the need for clean energy. They don't even believe climate change is real. I think they come from a different century. They're wrong. They are dead wrong. It's the single greatest existential threat to humanity.
Dude, you are talking about other people coming from a different century? You come from the 19th, don't you? That's crazy talk. Okay, you guys know Pastor Jack Hibbs? He is one of the biggest names in pastors in the world. He is based in Southern California. He is based near the Los Angeles area where there's fire. And by the way, didn't they play an NFL football game in Los Angeles last night or close to Los Angeles? I didn't see any smoke. Not that I'm saying it's not happening. Don't get me wrong. But anyway, here is Pastor Jack Hibbs with a video that has been viewed 10 million times, probably more since this morning.
We have watched the absolute exposure of the most incompetent, reserve your applause to the end. Nobody can hide from this. Nobody can hide from it. There's no excuses. This is the most wealthiest state in the 50. We pay the most in taxes. We pay the most in gas. We pay the most in electricity. You name it. If it's in California, we pay the most for it. Why? Why? Because of our government. Why? Because of things that Sacramento does because they can. Our flag of this state is an absolute abject lie. The flag says California Republic. It is not. A republic is where the people decide and the people have their way. What has happened to California? And you prove me wrong. I challenge you today, if you don't like what I'm about to say. California has been under unmitigated Democrat 100% power control. Democrat. Supermajority. What does that mean, supermajority? It means nobody can oppose their decision making. And now you've got it. You've got a situation where a catastrophe came and the billions of dollars that you and I gave was diverted to other woke, stupid Democrat projects. That's not hyperbole. It is a fact. You don't like it, change your party. If you don't like it, change different. But I'm telling you right now, I'm upset and I'm angry, and it's the right kind of anger. I'm telling you this right now. When you open up a fire hydrant and nothing comes out, and then Joe Biden says, it's because we need electricity. It was turned off for the fire hydrant to turn on. In some cases, that might be true. If the fire hydrants are on top of a mountain, you need a motor to drive the water up. That's extremely rare, and it wasn't the case in these fires. Bad management, horrific politicians who took your money and took trips like Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, she decided to go to Africa the week of the fires to be on a little trip that you paid for. She was really put out when she was told to come home. It didn't look bad. I mean, it didn't look good, that it looked very bad. You've got Gavin Newsom flying down here and then at a command center laughing it up with some people, and it's caught on tape, while he spends 9 point so many millions of probably your dollars to buy himself a new house. It's time to replace the leadership in California. You don't need any more examples. These fires could have been stopped.
Whoa. Interesting. I'm wondering, and now Jack Hibbs has always been, anti-woke, don't get me wrong, but I'm wondering if all of these Hollywood stars who are, out there for Kamala have changed their tune, especially if they lost their house or houses in the past week and a half or so, because of the response by the Democrat supermajority in California. Did they finally wake up? I don't know. But if you can get these hardcore leftists to see it for themselves, and remember what we've always said, unless you're actually touched by it in some way, you're going to keep doing the same thing that you've always done. You're even going to dig your heels in. But then it comes to you. Like I said to you at the beginning of the show tonight, 50% of people in Manitoba and Saskatchewan are $200 away from insolvency. It's coming for them. This whole destruction, this intentional destruction of our economy by Trudeau, by people like Gavin Newsom and other lefties who happen to have won power under the guise of, hey, it's great. It's about love. All that crap. All of their policies are finally coming back and biting them on the ass. Look at the polls going on in Canada. Now, people may be duped by the Conservative Party. We don't know exactly what Pierre Poilievre is going to do or what he's going to be able to do if he's under the control of Stephen Harper and that dark cabal controlled by billions and billions of dollars. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. We don't know. I kind of think he might be. But that's also going to wake up Canadians as well, because after a year of that or 18 months of that, they're going to go, wait a minute, this guy's not doing anything to help us. What are we going to do now? And then maybe some grassroots organizations will start putting themselves together. At least that's the hope. Because if we can't do that, we're doomed to keep repeating what we've been doing. Oh, I guess we'll just go back to the liberals then. What they got in America? The two-party system, for goodness sakes. Two. But like I said, I believe two legs of the cabal are fighting with each other right now, and there's possibly a third. Here's the story, comes from the Financial Post. The Nets, you see, this is the one side, the Zionist side of the cabal. It's starting to win now. Both of these legs of the cabal are being funded by the same people up top there, the Committee of 300 or the 13 families, whatever. But it looks here like our side is going to win. And guys, when I say our side, I mean the cabal that we've always lived in, right? We've always lived in it. So we've had that kind of semblance of freedom, but we've always lived in this. And until we actually completely and totally wake up from the matrix, we will continue living in it. We just don't want to be controlled outwardly and overtly by communist totalitarian dictators. We want the illusion of freedom. The Net Zero Banking Alliance has suffered an exodus in recent weeks. Goldman Sachs has pulled out. Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citigroup, JP Morgan Chase, all leaving. The moves to coincide with intensifying Republican attacks on what U.S. conservatives call woke capitalism and criticisms that such voluntary alliances haven't had a meaningful impact on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And RBC and BMO here in Canada could follow suit very, very soon. Walk out of that Wall Street climate club. So that's good news. Here's a story from Castanet. This is a news organization in Kelowna. This is the news organization that famously was interviewing Pierre Poilievre in the apple orchard there and failed so miserably. So some people are saying that you're pulling a page from Donald Trump's book. What people? What are you talking about? Well, you know, about right wing, left wing. I don't talk like that. What are you talking about? Learning anti-racism group discussion program starting at Summerland Okanagan Regional Library. What? Learning anti-racism group? Oh, because somebody spray painted a swastika on the side of a house, it looks like. This happened, what was it, last summer? But starting next week, an anti-racism group discussion, which you know is an actual racism group. This discussion program is going to be starting at Summerland Okanagan Regional Library. 6-week program, Tuesday nights from 6 till 8, starting tonight. Hey, look, if you live in the Kelowna area, you're watching the show right now, maybe you want to drop in one of these Tuesdays and see what the hell is going on. The class uses the Learning Anti-Racism Toolkit developed by the Victoria Multi-Faith Society, a charitable organization that hopes to build understanding, cooperation, and respect for all in our region. Sounds very inclusive to me. The overarching goal of the toolkit, according to the event poster, is to help us reimagine our communities and find ways to create an inclusive environment. Oh, there's that word again. Where everyone belongs, everyone contributes, and all are considered worthy of respect. In creating this resource tool, we've chosen to encourage insight, empathy, and listening, emphasizing respect and the need to be kind and compassionate as we learn with and from each other. The discussion runs until February 18th and focuses on Islamophobia, anti-Asian racism, anti-Semitism, anti-Indigenous, and anti-Black history, along with other topics. Summerland has been no stranger to racist incidents, including hateful graffiti that was found in a Summerland neighborhood last fall. The Summerland secondary school sign that was altered in 2023 to include a racial slur. A family whose home was targeted with racist graffiti in 2020, and past Mayor Tony Boot, great name, speaking out about the racism she dealt with while leading the district from 2018 to 2022. There's that awful racism again. So maybe one of you guys who happens to live in that area should head down there and see what this is all about. And if it's what we think it is, maybe say something. Don't be rude about it. Maybe it's legit. I don't know. I don't think so. But I don't know. You don't know until you know. This is an interesting story here. First confirmed meteorite to land in Prince Edward Island makes auditory history. It was captured on camera. Now, this story came out yesterday, even though apparently this meteorite hit in July of last year. In July of last year, Laura Kelly and her partner Joe discovered a star-shaped pattern of gray dust on their walkway after returning from an afternoon walk in Charlottetown. Check of their security camera footage showed an astonishing sight. The exact moment a rock came out of the sky and landed on their path, scattering gray dust and fragments in a spot where Joe was standing only minutes earlier. Ooh, there's the video. You want to see the video? I can show you the video if you want to see the video. And yes, the football game was moved to Glendale. Thank you for that. I get that. I saw that about 300 times in the comments, but I appreciate you guys stepping up on that one. Thank you. Okay, we've got video of this meteorite. It's going to disappoint you, but here it is. Wait for it. Wait for it. Oof. That's it. Suppose I could get back. There it is. Yep. There's the meteorite. Okay, you guys have heard the story. I got to be careful how I say this because the show is on YouTube tonight. You guys have heard the story of the Great Theory, right? You guys have heard that. Some people are absolutely convinced that it's going on around us right now. And if you know anything about the UN Migration Compact, which was signed by pretty much every country in the UN in 2018, you know that this is a real thing. Laura Loomer has done a documentary on it. It's been released in the last 2 days, and we're going to show that tonight on the extension for all access folks on shadowdavis.com. So if you are a member, I'll see you there in just a couple of minutes. And if not, I'm hopefully going to have this panel on division and sensitivity, even amongst people like us, tomorrow night with Jason Levine. He's tentative. We're going to have Greg Wycliffe on it, possibly Right Blend out of Ottawa, maybe a couple of more folks as well. So it's going to be a free-for-all, hopefully, on the show tomorrow night if everybody can do it. It's tough getting everybody together all at the same time these days. So we'll catch you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central, for another Shadow at Night live stream. And the extension starts in 2 minutes on shadowdavis.com. I love you all. I appreciate you all, and we'll see you soon.